Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's tale. I built my in-laws a deck, installed new gutters, even landscaped their yard. When I asked for a referral for a big contract, my wife's dad said, "You're a worker, not a name." My wife said, "It's just how he is, don't take it personally." I nodded. Then I picked up the one tool he never taught me how to use, but I did. 35 male, live in Monroe, Michigan. I own a small construction and landscaping business. I started it right out of high school. I never went to college, didn't see the point. My dad was a welder. My mom cleaned houses. I grew up watching people work hard, come home tired, and do it all over again the next day. So that's what I did too. I met my wife Laura, 32 female, when I was doing drywall at her cousin's rental property. She came by to drop off some paperwork, and we hit it off. She liked that I was hands-on, responsible, old school in some ways. Her dad, Derek, 62 male, was a general contractor. He'd been in the business over 3 decades. Big contracts, big houses, commercial properties, corporate work. He was the kind of guy who always smelled like sawdust and aftershave, always talking about how nobody wants to work with their hands anymore. Thought we'd get along great. At first, we did. When Laura and I got serious, I made an effort with her family, especially her dad. I helped him clean out his garage. I did a dump run for free. We talked tools, compared calluses like that meant something. He'd always say things like, "You got the work ethic, I respect that." He was the kind of guy who said, respect was earned, not given. When we got married, he shook my hand at the reception and said, "You're the kind of guy who doesn't quit. When his back hurts, you'll do fine." I believed him. I believed he meant it. But that was before the favors. It started when Derek needed his lake house deck replaced. He asked me if I could look at it, said it was starting to sag, boards were warped. He didn't say, "How much would you charge?" or, "Can you quote me?" He just said, "You got a few weekends open, right?" I said, "Yes." I always said yes to him. I drove out there every Saturday and Sunday for a month, hauled out the old deck, built new support beams, new treated wood. It looked amazing when I finished. He barely said thank you, just cracked open a beer and said, "Looks solid." Didn't even offer to pay for materials. Then it was his gutters at his house in town. "If you get it done before snow hits, I'll owe you that." Oh, you turned into nothing. I was up on a ladder in 30-degree wind, hands numb, while he watched from the driveway, giving tips I didn't need. After that, the front yard. His wife Tina wanted it landscaped like the one she saw on HGTV. I designed it from scratch, laid sod, built a little stone path, flower beds, edging, irrigation. 2 straight weeks of work. Still nothing. No money, no gas reimbursement. No, "Hey, let me send a couple jobs your way." Just, "You've got a good eye for design," and a pat on the back. It was starting to feel like I was just his free help. But Laura kept saying, "He's just old-fashioned. Acts tough, but he appreciates you." I didn't buy it, but I kept my mouth shut. Then something big came up. A commercial developer, one of Derek's regular clients, was expanding into Monroe. They were looking for local contractors to handle build-outs, renovations, siding, framing, landscaping. It was 6 figures easy. Years of steady work. It would have been the biggest opportunity I'd ever had. I asked Derek if he could put in a word, just a name drop, just say, "Yeah, Troy's solid, he's reliable." We were in his garage. He was fiddling with his golf bag when I brought it up. I laid it all out, showed him the project, explained how I'd already done smaller jobs like it. I didn't ask for money. I just wanted a reference. He didn't even look at me. He said, "Troy, you're a worker. You're not a name." Just like that. I asked him what he meant. He said, "You don't have an office, no fleet, no website worth a damn. I can't send my guys to someone who's running jobs out of a pickup and a garage." I just stood there trying to hold it together. This man watched me build half his property over the last year, never paid me a cent, took my time, my energy, my skill, and now I wasn't good enough to vouch for. I didn't argue. I just nodded and left. That night, I told Laura. I told her what? He said, I told her how it felt like I'd been used. She looked at me and said, "Troy, it's just how he is. Don't take it personally." That broke something in me. I didn't yell. I didn't get mean. I just smiled and said, "Okay." But something flipped. I stopped being the guy who waited for handouts. I decided I was done trying to earn his approval, so I started learning late at night after jobs. I stayed up at the kitchen table with my laptop. I watched videos on business, licensing, marketing, building a brand. I paid for an online course on how to write commercial bids. I taught myself about taxes, permits, bidding strategy, insurance. I made a proper logo, built a real website, got professional photos of all the work I'd done over the years, before and after shots, customer reviews, time-lapse videos. I signed up for local business groups and even got listed with the city as a preferred vendor. Then I filed for a commercial contractor license. Took some work, but I got it. Then I found out that developer, the one Derek wouldn't recommend me to, was still accepting bids, so I sent one. I poured every ounce of what I had into it. I priced it smart, showed up with a printed proposal in a branded folder, gave them examples of my past work. Professional, clean, thorough. A week later, they called. They told me my bid was the best balanced one. Not the cheapest, but the most complete. They wanted to move forward. I said yes, and then I made one more move. I knew Derek had been using family help for years. He always joked about how licensed work is just a racket and how he didn't need to pull permits for a damn deck. Well, I had proof. Old texts, photos of jobs I did for him without permits, times he paid me in beer or not at all, messages where he told me, "Don't worry about the paperwork," so I reported it. I filed an anonymous complaint to the state licensing board and the IRS, detailed names, dates, photos. I wrote it all up like I was concerned about fair business practice and unreported labor. They launched an audit. He got flagged. Then the developer he wanted to work with, they dropped him. Word got out that his paperwork was shady. He lost other jobs too, one by one. Now he was just a name with no one to vouch for it. And me? I was just getting started. After I got that big contract, things moved fast. I hired two guys I trusted, Ethan and Javier. Both were like me, knew how to work, show up on time, no drama. We started tearing into the first project for the Monroe. Development. I finally had a budget to buy the tools I'd only dreamed about before. A skid steer, a laser level, new scaffolding. Every day I passed by that empty lot Derek was bidding for. Every day I saw it untouched. His sign was gone, his trucks were gone, no crew, just weeds and silence. He didn't call me. Didn't text, not a word, but I knew he knew. I could feel it. Then one afternoon, I saw Tina, his wife Laura's mom, at the grocery store. She stopped me by the freezer aisle, asked if I could come by sometime and take a look at their basements. They had some water damage after the last storm. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "I'm booked for the next year, sorry." She blinked a few times, then nodded like she understood, but I could see it in her face. The pride was cracking. Later that night, Laura asked me why her mom said I was acting coldy, told her they use me. "I'm done," she said. "You're being petty." I said, "Maybe, but I'm done being their free labor." That started something between us. Laura started pulling away little things. She stopped asking about my day, slept facing the other way. I caught her texting late at night. When I asked who, she said, "Just my sister." But she didn't hand me her phone. That told me enough. Then came the dinner invite. Derek texted me out of nowhere. "First time in months, let's talk," he wrote. "Come by for dinner." I showed Laura the text. She said maybe he's trying to make peace. I agreed to go, but I didn't go in blind before dinner. I asked Ethan to drive past the site of one of Derek's old projects. It was a senior living build from 2 years ago. One he bragged about. He had a hunch, and I was right. Half the sidewalks were cracked. One of the retaining walls was leaning. His shortcuts were starting to show. I took photos, documented everything. I wasn't going to use it, not yet, but I kept it just in case. Dinner was awkward from the second I walked in. Derek poured himself bourbon and offered me one. I said, "No." He sat down, looked tired. Older somehow said, "Look, I know things got weird, but I figured we should talk man to man." I let him talk. He blamed the audit on disgruntled employees, said business was slow, said he wanted to start fresh, even offered to send some work my way. I almost laughed. Then he leaned in and said, "Laura tells me you've changed, that you're acting different. You don't want to lose your wife over pride, do you?" That's when I saw it. He wasn't there to apologize. He was trying to scare me, threaten me. He knew Laura was slipping away and he was using it to put me back in my place. I looked him dead in the face and said, "You're losing everything because you never saw me as more than a tool. And now you think you can guilt me into saving your name. I'm not your fix-it guy anymore." He didn't like that his jaw clenched. He said, "You think this game lasts forever? These developers chew you up, Troy, one bad job and they toss you. You'll be back to patching porches in 6 months. I stood up, looked him in the eyes and said, "Then I'll still be doing more than you." Laura didn't say a word. The whole ride home just stared out the window. When we got back, she went straight to bed. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. Left a note staying at my parents' for a few days. "I need space." That was 2 weeks ago. Hasn't come home since, but I've seen her car parked outside Derek's, and I've got a feeling this story isn't over. Not by a long shot. A week after Laura left, I got served. It was a knock on my shop door at 8:30 a.m. Ma guy in khakis handed me a thick envelope and walked off before I could even ask a question. Inside, divorce papers. No warning, no conversation, just papers. She was filing for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. I stood there in my shop, hands still, covered in sawdust, staring at the words like they were written in another language. My wife of 5 years gone like that. No fights, no cheating that I knew of, just space. And in silence, I tried calling her, no answer. Left 2 messages, nothing. So I drove over to her parents' house. Her car was in the driveway. So was Derek's truckie. Knocked on the front door. Nobody answered. Then I saw the curtain shift. I stood there another minute, knocked again, louder. That's when Derek opened the door, just a crack. Didn't even step out. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "She doesn't want to talk." I asked him, "Did you put her up to this?" He said, "She's a grown woman. She made her decision. Maybe it's time you accepted that not everything can be fixed with a hammer." I lost it. I stepped closer and said, "You couldn't stand the idea of me rising up without your help, so you turned your own daughter against me." He said nothing, just gave me a smug, dry smile, and that's when I noticed something else behind him inside. The house. I saw Laura. She was standing in the hallway, arms crossed, looking away. I called her name. She didn't move, didn't even blink. Derek closed the door. I got in my truck, hands shaking, heart pounding. I wanted to drive it straight into their mailbox, but I didn't. Instead, I went back to my office and made one call to the real estate lawyer I'd hired 2 months back when I started formalizing my company. "Todd," I said, "I need to dig into something quietly." I gave him the name of Derek's company, told him I wanted to know if there were liens, lawsuits, anything brewing behind the curtain. Took a week. What he found blew the lid off everything. Derek's business wasn't just struggling, it was on the verge of collapse. He'd taken out 3 hard money loans in the past year to cover project costs. At least one subcontractor had sued him for unpaid wages. He was under investigation by the Michigan Labor Department for misclassifying workers. His name had been quietly removed from 2 commercial property listings in Ann Arbor. The man was drowning, and now suddenly Laura wanted a divorcee. Asked Todd, what would happen if Laura received any gifts or property from Derek in the middle of a divorce? He told me if it could be proven that assets were being shifted around to avoid division in a marital dispute that was fraud. That's when the plan started to form. I wasn't just going to sit and let them write me out of my own story. The first thing I did was go to the one guy Derek couldn't ignore, his lender, a private investor named Jeff Randall, local real estate guy, big ego, bigger temper. I'd worked with one of his crews years ago. We didn't like each other, but he respected business. I sent Jeff an anonymous packet inside photos of Derek's botched jobs, records of unpaid taxes, and a copy of the lien history, all public, all documented. Then I followed up with a tip Derek was moving assets into his daughter's name. Days later, Jeff filed, sweetie, didn't even have to do anything else. Derek's accounts were frozen. His work truck repossessed, one of his active job sites got shut down mid-fringe when his insurance got revoked. I waited for the call. It came at 9:17 p.m. on a Thursday, and no number. I answered it. It was Derek. You son of a... He growled. You think this is going to make her come back to you? I said nothing. He kept going. You're burning down everything. You think you're building something, but you're just a punk with a grudge. I waited for a pause, then said calmly, "No, Derek, I'm just making sure the truth shows up on the blueprint this time." He hung up. A week later, Laura finally called me. She sounded tired. She said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Why did you leave me like I was nothing?" She paused for a long time and said, "Because I got tired of waiting for you to be more than a guy with a toolbox. My dad wasn't wrong. That hit like a brick." I said, "Well, now I'm more than that. And your dad, he's got nothing left to take from me." Then I hung up. She didn't call back, but I wasn't done yet. There was one more piece I was saving for last. Because Derek made one mistake during our friendship. He used me to build illegal additions on a property he was flipping under someone else's name. I knew the house, I helped frame it, and I had photos, real estate fraud. Let's just say I wasn't going to be anonymous this time. The house I helped Derek flip illegally was a 2-story colonial off Dundee Road, just outside Monroe city limits. I remember every inch of it. He brought me in to help with framing and drywall after telling me the property was just a family project. Said it was for his niece. No permits, no inspections. We worked late into the night more than once to avoid drawing attention. He paid me in cash and a cheap tool set that broke in 2 weeks. But what he didn't know was, I kept a copy of everything. Photos of the unpermitted second-floor addition, messages where he told me, "Don't mention this to Tina and don't log this job in your books." That was 2 years ago. I had no idea I'd ever use it. Now it was gold. I went straight to the Monroe County Code Enforcement Office, filed a full complaint under my real name this time, brought photos, texts, GPS stamped images showing the progress, the tools, even receipts I paid for out of pocket. I even had a video where Derek bragged about saving 10 grand easy by skipping permits and inspectors. What came next hit harder than even I expected. Code Enforcement Red tagged the property. The county opened a full investigation into past projects tied to Derek's LLC. Turned out this wasn't the only one. 3 other houses were traced back to similar shady work, all traced to his firm. 2 under his daughter Laura's name, the same Laura now filing for divorce, the same Laura trying to protect her dad by transferring assets to herself. Boom. The Michigan Attorney General got involved. Fraud, permit evasion, unreported labor, illegal property transfers during a pending divorce, and the big one, state-level tax evasion based on underreported earnings and fraudulent bookkeeping. Derek was arrested. Not just fined, arrested. Perp walked right out of his driveway in handcuffs. Laura was named in the civil side of the case. Her bank accounts were frozen until the divorce finalized. The court assigned a special investigator to review all property and assets she held in trust with Derek. They froze the house, the lake cabin, even the truck title she transferred out of his name last month. They lost everything. I watched it unfold like a slow movie. Every piece, every hammer stroke I'd taken for free came back to bury them. The contractors board revoked Derek's license. His firm gone. His reputation shattered. His friends in real estate, they dropped him fast. Like he had a disease. As for Laura, she came crawling back 3 weeks after the arrest. I came home late after wrapping a job at the Monroe site. She was sitting in her car outside my house, engine off, eyes red. I didn't get out right away, just watched her through the windshield. Eventually, I walked up and asked, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I didn't know. I didn't know it would go this far." I said, "You knew he used people. You just never cared until it hit you too." She looked down and said quietly, "I lost everything." I said, "No, you lost me. The rest was just money." She begged to talk, said we could start over. I told her the truth. I said, "You chose him. And when I finally became something more, you got scared." She didn't fight back, just cried. I walked away. Didn't look back. It's been 8 months now. Derek pleaded guilty, got a reduced sentence, but he'll be on probation and paying fines for years. He had to sell the lake house to cover legal fees. I bought it. Yep, I bought the damn lake house. Put a new deck on it. One that's built right, one I made myself with permits and a licensed team. Ethan and Javier are full-time now. We've got 2 trucks, 6 guys, a real office downtown. I still work with my hands, but now I have a name. Clients wait weeks to book us. We just want to bid for a city park renovation. And every time I walk past that old house Derek cut corners on, I smile, because I didn't burn bridges. I built new ones, stronger ones with real nails, real blueprints, and real respect. They tried to write me off. They turned their backs when I gave everything I had, so I gave them something they never saw coming. I became bigger than all of them, and I did it on my own, with the one tool Derek never taught me how to use: my voice. My voice.